Minahan.
Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests bring you leading-edge astrology conversations through a journey of soul growth patterns connecting astrology's energetic cycles. Get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, I'm Sue Minahan, host and founder of Talk Cosmos, where we do not just inspired but insightful astrological conversations. And today is December 18th, just before the Winter Solstice, which is a subject for this conversation, and it's with the panel Archetypal Symbols. And we have a special guest, Israel Ajose, the president of Astrological Lodge of London. So all of that will follow. Briefly speaking, the winter solstice is when the sun reaches that world point on the axis, the meridian point. All this is astronomy we can learn at 0 degrees Capricorn. And archetypal symbols, well, that will be described too. So we are ready now for archetypal symbols. Thank you.
Synthesizing the current archetypal new moon energies through weaving symbol systems such as Sabian symbols, numerology, Mayan novel energy days, or even tarot, connecting to the astrological data and concepts for planets and cosmos, this is your Archetypal Symbols panel.
I'm Sue Minahan, the founder of Talk Cosmos, an eclectic evolutionary astrologer, consultant, certified color energy life coach, vice president of the Washington State Astrological Association, member of Kepler Astrology Toastmaster Club, of a Dwarf Planet University diploma and AA with music degree. I love mythology, philosophizing, collaboration. I'm an artist, writer, a perpetual student of life.
I'm Elizabeth Liz Machette, a professional astrologer, intuitive, numerologist, and tarot reader. I'm a certified sacred healing counselor, providing nurturing, in-depth consultations for individuals and couples. I'm an author, blogger, speaker, and international Reiki master and teacher. I create safe space in which to explore the deeper patterns of your life, to clarify your current circumstances and help you find your best path forward.
And I'm Justin Crockett-Elsie, an archetypal astrologer, teacher, and author. I combine both Western ancient astrology and modern psychological astrology with Eastern Vedic astrology, and I specialize in predictive, electional, and karmic astrology for individuals and couples. I'm a certified aromatherapist, an essential oil specialist, and an herbalist, and I offer remedial modalities of plants for psychological life issues to empower clients with compassionate healing. I also do in-depth astrological research into arcane astrological concepts, focusing on the mystical, occult side of astrology.
Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift." And that's why it's called the present. Ta-da! Always. All right. Yes, thank you. And we have Israel Ajose that you can see on the screen. And for those that do not, that are on podcast, I did find my bio here. Israel has a diploma psychology of astrology, completing full honors in psychological astrology at the Center of Psychological Astrology in London with Liz Green. He's a full-time practitioner and teacher of astrology, tarot, philosophical, and esoteric teachings. And Israel combines the traditional, medieval, psychological, and Vedic Jyotish techniques to provide guidance, answers, and consultations to students that are both the worldwide. And currently, Israel is the president of the Astrological Lodge of London. And much of his studies and practices include cosmology, mythology, occult sciences, Kabbalah, shamanism, and divination. And his personal URL is sacredplanets.com, and you can always email them at astrologyofthesoul@gmail.com. All that can be found on Talk Cosmos under the 5th season and 6th season bio and information. Thank you. I'm so glad to have you again, always. And I might say Israel's also a member of the Astro Jam that we do quarterly.
Yeah.
So hello, Israel, Justin, Liz.
Hello. Hello.
Hey.
Good to be here.
Great to be
Friends-
back and finishing up
friends-
another year and starting a new one.
Exactly. So I think I'll just leave the comments open here. If anybody has, just without even looking at the charts, a thought about this solstice coming up, or unless you want to look at the
Well, it's like the leaves are all shedded off the trees around my house now. And so it's time to do that root or under the ground work or inner work. And so it's like that's the main focus, in my opinion.
It's true. And yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's that time of year. Year seems to have gone quick. Well, for me at least. Anyway, it seems like it was just a couple of weeks ago we were, analyzing or looking at the winter solstice of 2021. But such is life, I guess. But yeah, it is that time where it's this time of the year is always associated with, if you want to say, the endings and new beginnings, because obviously somewhat a week later we do have the new year also as well, which coincides with that. The ancient Romans, Greeks, Romans had a deity known as Janus, where we get the word January from, that had two faces, one facing left, one facing right, which symbolized, one facing the end of the year and one facing the beginning of the year. So we're kind of at that very, we could say sensitive, but very powerful turning point, where it's the end of the old in with the new. Also, for us in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the beginning of that, of the winter season. Of course, that's the official day of the winter season, and like was said, leaves are dropping off. Animals are going into hibernation, and making sure they've all stocked up their food and they've eaten, and they're going into that cold period, which is often also synchronous, or is often used as symbolically as perhaps maybe one's dying phase of life, sometimes old age, which is obviously we can see where the connection is, because the zodiac sign that that begins the winter solstice is Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, and he's the god of time, the god of age, maturity. So we see all of these archetypes at work. It's a real powerful moment, and it's a time for us to somewhat consolidate, the year that is coming to an end, but also plant those seeds for what is to come also as well. And just when we start anything in life, it's never easy. We have to go through that. When a seed is planted, it has to go through that a difficult period before something springs up, which will be 3 months later when we have the autumn equinox, and things then start to spring to life. So it's a very crucial, very important time of the year. Hence why we have the festive seasons. And again, all cultures would have some kind of a, festive, amongst the Jewish people, today's the beginning of Hanukkah, again, festival of lights. For Christians, of course, it's the birth of Jesus. So we have, various amongst the pagan traditions, Saturnalia, so many celebrations all throughout the world, throughout various cultures, acknowledge this time of the year, which is extremely, very, very important, and to definitely take on board and to discuss, and what can we expect also as well, with
yes.
Yeah.
And I would agree with everything that Liz and Israel just said, and I think it's really indicative, as we're going to see today with this balsamic moon, which is as it's almost about to reach the sun. It's really about kind of turning inward before we step over the threshold into a new cycle. This balsamic moon, and of course, it's opposing Mars, and so there's there's that. Not necessarily taking action per se, but just as more going inward, and I think, as we're going to see today, most of the archetypal symbols are really supporting this theme.
I have taken some notes because I love the word archetypes. That's generally these energies. However, I'm realizing that today also has, well, it will. When I say today, I'm thinking the 21st, because this is the 18th, so we're talking about the 21st, which is in 3 days. But then Jupiter on the 20th ingresses into, will have ingressed, thank you, into Aries. And so Mars, this opposition is so powerful in many ways because it's the ruler of Jupiter, which is bringing to seed any direction through our actions, right? We're cutting away from the past and we're going forward. So isn't it interesting how we have this mixed messages, really, but necessary? We're having a balsamic moon that is inward, yet it is opposing it's like a last chance to really get it down, because following that will be the new moon and then the new year. Oh,
and we had with the last full moon that we had a week and a bit ago, the moon was that full moon was where the moon was somewhat conjunct Mars. So we seem to be, it seems to be, and again the winter solstice, it's opposing the Mars again. So there seems to be a strong kind of Martian. And then you say about Jupiter ingressing into Aries again. So we're getting this very strong Martian kind of energy coming along, and we know Mars represents conflicts and fights and wars and struggles and drive and motivation. So this may be telling us, like, this is going to be a time where we perhaps need to recognize that kind of energy and how we use it and how we direct it for the new year.
Yeah, if I can go ahead.
And I was going to also add on to that too, and I agree with what Israel just said. And just to kind of add on to that, we got that Mars in Gemini, which is really very mental, and at the same time, it's not only opposing the moon, but it's also opposing the Mercury planetary south node in Sag. So there's this kind of, again, focusing on what we're thinking and those goals and what we've got going on,
Right. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear this extra layer, which we haven't even spoken about much, except Mark Jones was with us on the 4th of December. And of course, he has his book out. He's also from the UK, and about planetary nodes, because nodes means meeting, and it is that orbital path. However, just to go back to one thought about the Martian energy, which I always feel strongly about. I have North Node in Aries. It is somewhere in my life here, and we all have Mars, of course, but it's our causes and what we defend. And so I think really, because it does obviously, well, I say obviously, bring up the fact of conflict potentially, but yet if we step back and consider what are the values for what we're fighting for, that we want to, what causes are we defending, on a personal basis, or how do we want to become in this action? It helps mitigate the jump to reflex, perhaps, of like punch because of the fighting. Of course, I understand too, we're talking on a collective and a personal basis, but just to add that.
I also like to think of Mars as the trailblazer, and it's in Gemini, ruling Mercury, our ideas and thoughts. So it's like, I would imagine that some people are coming up with some ingenious ideas that maybe they don't even realize that they've come up with. And we did have the nuclear fusion this last week. So that, I mean, they've been talking about that for years. So that idea has come to fruition now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah.
Let's have the slides, Nathan, if we can. Thank you, all four of you.
Yeah.
All of us. Thank you. Excellent.
All four of us.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to transcribe these, and I realize how I talk. It's like, oh, I have to consider this. Okay, here we go. And this for if people that are listening in podcasts, we do have a slide showing our URLs, contacts, and that. However, just go to Talk Cosmos because website, it has all of this information too. Okay, 0 is a big number with many energies. The Sun, Jupiter, Ceres, a dwarf planet, and Hygeia, which I just read has been considered as a dwarf planet too. It meets the qualifications. It's a sphere size. That was what was holding back. So it's interesting. And for the go ahead.
Has no beginning or no ending. It's infinite. Yeah. It's just ongoing, and you can't even know what the potential and possibilities are, but it feels like it has many potentials and possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And avoid, there's something with 0, it's like it's everything but nothing at the same time. It can be everything or anything. Hence why no beginning, no ending. It's infinite. So it's a void, but it's also a void that also encompasses everything also as well. So it's immensely powerful. It is the circle in which everything is inside, but at the same time, nothing as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I like to think of the energy of the 0 is like anything's possible, and if we look at the tarot, of course, which we're going to in a minute, I like to think of it as the aces in the deck because it's the whole power of the whole suit.
Yeah.
And so it's whatever you want it to be. It encompasses all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. Exactly. Essentially, it's a good number from what I've understood. It's evolution. Here we go. Here's the next. Oh, and that's a thought. Liz pointed out earlier that several planets, 4 for each the solstice, and then we will go to the new moon, are out of bounds. What does that mean? That means that they're outside of the 23.44, or it's 26 actually, of the northern and southern latitudes declination, that where the sun will be directly overhead at any given time. The Tropic of Capricorn in the south and the Tropic of Cancer at the north of the equator. For those people that can clue into the astronomical denotation. But the fact is, so that means these planets are not, as it said, guided by the sun's any leadership of thought. It's like their energy, pure and real. So we have, and with
they're not necessarily following the rules of their normal daily of what they normally attune to, so that's a lot of energy, and it makes Mars retrograde in Gemini even that much more powerful.
Is it fair to say that they are likely more, if they're out of bounds, there's something about it that makes them somewhat function maybe out of character in some kind of way, that they're not within the rules or the regulations, or it's almost like they're doing their thing. They're outside of certain rules or bounds in some kind of, so they're not bound to a specific rule or regulation which they would normally be bound to. So it can make them act or function or manifest maybe a little bit wild, one could say, a little bit unpredictable. There's no kind of telling
Yes.
how they're going to manifest.
I
Out of bound
yes.
planets can be,
Yeah. So we have for solstice, and I think Justin may have something here too, but for the solstice coming up on the 21st, the difference will be Mercury. And then for both solstice and new moon, it'll include Venus and Mars, Pallas Athena, the asteroid. So for the new moon, instead of Mercury, it'll be the moon, and which has been out of bounds for a long time. It goes through a 10-year cycle, I think, and it's in this out of bounds cycle. So we'll be experiencing it quite a bit, which is important. The moon is our story. It's our emotional basis. It's what we create our lives through our habits and memories.
Yeah.
But along with it will be Venus, Mars, and Pallas Athena.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. That's potent, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know. Thank you, Liz, for bringing this up. Okay, so we have tarot card. There's many facets to understand energy. And the Fool, for 0. And I found 3 descriptions that illustrate it, because reading the Fool, if the character looks to the right, that's the soul, the solar path of the consciousness. If it's to the left, it's the yin of the unconscious direction. If it's straight ahead, and also it's in these pictures, it's depicted as the masculine, the feminine, and then a gesture. So it incorporates all of it. So
it kind of reminds me of what Israel was saying earlier about the character Janus, as we know, the myth there of the 2 faces and looking either way. So I think that just reminds me of that. Still, the whole thing there.
When it's like starting a journey or a new opportunity and really not knowing where it's going to go. It's like Microsoft started in a garage and look at how it grew. It's like, I don't know if they ever even knew what the potential for it was, but it's like, or it can flop really fast. I mean, it can be either way.
Yeah, it's opportunity. Go ahead, Israel.
Yeah, opportunity, and just like Justin stated earlier on, it's like the ace in the cards. That's why normally when people are playing cards, the ace can be anything. It doesn't. It's not like it can be anything you want it to be. That's why when people have aces, they're playing 21 or some blackjack, it's like, well, you got a good hand because you got these cards, these aces that can be anything you want them to be. They're not limited to anything. So the Fool, definitely goes into that. And very often also with the tarot card, the Rider-Waite one, which we still see the same archetype with many others. There's often an image, obviously, of when it's a young person sort of like walking off the cliff, which kind of symbolizes, that the unknown, or there's the element of naivety or unknown. You're going into this world that's, it's a beginning of a journey, and there's no telling what's going to happen or where it's going. It's, you're in no man's land, so to speak. And yes, there is some danger there, but there's also full of potential and full of excitement and full of growth and inspiration and many other things that that we encounter on our journey through life. So Fool is a very, very powerful card.
And well, thank you. And considering, I realize the multitude of planetary energies that are at 0 degrees for the solstice, it's so amazing to consider that these energies are all initiating. Because for those that are on the podcast, I'll read these off that we're looking at just as pointers. Very beginnings of one's spiritual journey, opportunity, beginnings, innocence, unlimited potential, leap of faith, follow your dreams, not knowing what comes next, which is just, for those thoughts. It's how we become, isn't it? It's really Jupiter in Aries, particularly. it's strong.
Definitely.
So we have also tarot cards for the sign, which is Capricorn, for the solstice. And it happens to be one that people, of course, get a little shocked about. It's the devil. But what does that represent? Everything has its power and its obstacles. It's of struggle to overcome. So here, I'll just read about this quickly and then for comment. Is the devil represents for the positive, because we're thinking Capricorn too. Remember this. Drive, independence, because you're your own leader here, and willpower. On the negative, one might have restrictions. There's a limitation always to the structure, and that of Capricorn. And materialism, if that's the focus, without incorporating spiritual, and temptation, as we think. But it's a full body. And there's two pictures here. I have the weight. The traditional one on the left, and
right away.
Yeah, and I saw this other beautiful one of the angel Lucifer with So there's many ways to interpret it.
Yeah, most definitely.
The word devil reversed is lived, so I always like to remember that because I think that's important. It's important. And, we in the Rider-Waite, we can see the two individuals with chains around their neck, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, you could lift that over their head, but it's responsibilities. What responsibilities do we obligate ourselves to? Sometimes we obligate unnecessarily, but sometimes we do it for the greater good or to even move a project forward or ourselves forward.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect summary there, Liz, being a Capricorn.
Yeah.
I love that, and I think
me too.
As we see in the Sabian symbols, I think this is going, as we get to that this is really going to kind of flesh out to where it's really about the right structure and authority as we empower and being empowered as we move into this new cycle.
Yeah, right structure and authority. Oh boy.
And restriction could be a neutral one, because if we didn't have a speed limit, it might get kind of dicey trying to drive around with some people going 20 and some people going 100. And, that could get kind of dicey. But anyway, I understand the point. So.
And it's for social order, isn't it, in many ways? Because come to think of it, on the Aries concept, it's like, well, wait a minute, I got to, there's all this self-focus, but this in this archetypal in the 10th house at the MC, as we call it, there is a social structure. Shall I go to the next? Okay. So Sabian symbols, that's another aspect that we encounter to describe the energies. And these are created by clairvoyant Elsie Wheeler in 1925 with the astrologer Mark, that's M-A-R-C, Edmund Jones. And I'll read this off for people for the podcast. A single Sabian symbol image represents the spiritual essence for each of the 360 degrees of the entire 12-sign zodiac horoscope. Therefore, Sabian symbols offer a spiritual, insightful expression of energies. So looking at this chart, this is the Winter Solstice chart for December 21st, 2022 in Greenwich, UK, which we could think of as a world chart because that's where time begins. It's in Greenwich, just outside of London, where Israel's located. And that happens to be at 9:48 and 2 seconds in the evening, UT time. So what we have is we have a cardinal T-square with all these 0-degree energies that happen to all be in cardinal energies. And then we also have a mutable, that's a T-square. Then we have a mutable grand square where there's 4 of them, mutable with the Mars, Moon, Vesta, and the ascendant for the world chart. And then to remember too that Haumea, which is a dwarf planet, just ingressed Scorpio. It's a 50-year transit. So on November 12th, and it will be until 2050. And Haumea is a Hawaiian goddess of prolific birth and rebirth, and the mother of Pele, the only one that she created as legend the natural way through the womb. All the others are throughout her entire body. And just considering this vast creation, it's a creation goddess. And therefore in Scorpio, it shows that this rebirth, if we think of it as Pele, is not an easy affair. It's through great duress, but it is that process. And at the moment, a consideration that it's in conjunct, that's 150 degrees, which doesn't have common territory, but there is a larger purpose if we look at it, with Jupiter that happens to be at zero, the Aries point of 0 degrees Aries. So we can look at that as we like.
Yeah.
And it's time for a break.
Oh, is it? Oh, goodness. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, we will return December 18th with Archetypal Symbols with Justin Crockett, Elsie, Elizabeth, and Israel Ajose. Right back. Thank you. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the yin period of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, the furthest visible planet by the eye. By leaving a cycle based on meaningfulness and truth, Capricorn's energy establishes social boundaries in a structure incorporating rules, authority, and ethics. As a cardinal earth sign depicted by a sea goat climbing from the sea up to the top of a mountain, Capricorn overcomes fears through goals and ambitions to achieve mastery.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga, we cover the world of animals. This week, December 25th, it's Christmas and an encore presentation. Tune in to hear my last behavior teaching show with author Walter Stoffel and Nathan. Listen to catch up or to review, because our next live teaching show will be in January. Merry Christmas from Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Talk Cosmos brings you leading-edge astrological conversations with hour-long programs each week on KKNW. The show goes live every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on Facebook and YouTube, along with daily chats throughout the week on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel. While you're there, make sure you click like and subscribe buttons so you can get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or, if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. So, grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
Talk Cosmos is celebrating its 6th season and has a special gift for everyone listening to the show, a free mini transit reading from your natal chart. This reading can help you discover your life path forward and make you aware of current opportunities and challenges. Talk Cosmos Kaleidoscope Visions panel invites you to participate in this learning experience and to interact with the astrologers reading your chart in 2023 during the monthly Kaleidoscope Visions show. Schedule your mini transit reading and find more information about the panel at talkcosmos.com. We look forward to connecting with you for a free natal chart mini transit reading during the monthly Kaleidoscope Visions show at 1 p.m. Pacific on Talk Cosmos.
Tell your friends about Alternative Talk 1150.
Hi, we're back again. And before we begin, I'd like to ask each one of you have something coming up that you would like to announce. Israel, we'll start with you. Not to put you on the spot here, but do you have, I know that you have Monday Mondays, always with the lectures available at the
Astrological Lodge. Well, we're on holiday for the meantime for the festive period, Christmas and New Year. We will be returning back on January the 16th. It's going to be available it's going to be hybrid, so it's both online and in the physical premises. So if anybody is in the London area and wishes to come along, you're more than welcome to do so. All of the information is on our website at www.astrolodge.co.uk. That's www.astrolodge.co.uk. So we will be resuming back to our normal times at 7 o'clock on the 16th of January. So, yeah. Other than that, there's not much. Yeah.
Oh, good. And UT time. So very good. And also to remind people, Talk Cosmos will have Israel's contact information.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So good, wonderful. And Justin, you have a course I know that you're teaching, and I don't know what else.
Yeah, I'm teaching an astrology course, 4-month astrology course for some select students, and so I've got that going on, and then just individual day-to-day sessions with clients, and working on a book as well right now. So that's about it.
Ooh, that keeps you busy. Can people still join that course, or at least contact you?
And they can, yes, yeah.
Wonderful, because I'm sure that'll be insightful. That's the word I need to remember, insightful. It's good. And Elizabeth, what do you have? I know that you, and I do know a few of these things. You're going to host a community discussion group on the second Thursday of every month as part of the WASA, Washington State Astrological Association, but it's open to everybody. So I'm stealing your thunder, but that and anything else, please share. Thank you.
Well, yes, and that's called Astro Chat. And our January topic will be Mars Direct, and it's 6 p.m. Pacific time. And you can find the link on my website. So you can go to Top Cosmos and find it, or you can Google Washington State Astrological Association. And I hope they have it on there. We'll see.
Well, I'm not
sure, but
I'm not sure they do that.
But you can do Washington State Astrology Association and probably find it on the Facebook page.
I think going to you would be good, if I might say, because I'm on the board with you and we're devising this. And it'll be the first time in January with a different subject and that you will host. And it's very exciting. I'm glad. I know that NCGR down in San Francisco does this on the first Friday. It's an excellent idea. But this will be the second Thursday of every month. So again, go to Talk Cosmos and you can find Elizabeth's website, A Light Path, and there she has the info. Myself, I will be giving a lecture for the Organization of Professional Astrology on July 23rd about the United States Venus star point natal return. The natal Venus star point return in 2026, which will be 0 degrees Scorpio. Thank you. All right. At this moment, let's get back to our subject. Thank you so much, Nathan, who mans and helps us. We have here, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to the Sabians, 0 degrees. We have one in Capricorn, Aries, and Libra. And we don't have a lot of time. Is it the half hour? So perhaps I'll read them. I know that Liz and Justin understand these a great deal. And Israel, I think, I'm not sure about yourself and myself. We interpret. Would it be, for instance, the sun in Hygeia right now are Capricorn, and you always go up to the next one, so it's 1. And it's an Indian chief claiming recognition and power from the assembly tribe. And generally, from what I gather, the keynote is the ability to stand strong, tall, be in charge, and command respect. And Aries which would be Jupiter, is at 1 degree, a woman risen out of the ocean, a seal embracing her. And the keynote is the old is left behind with a new understanding and awareness coming to light. And the last with Ceres, which is the archetype of claiming our what nourishes us, which is in the sign of Libra, is at 1 degree, and that's a butterfly preserved, made perfect with a dart through it. And from what Linda Hill in her Sabian suggests is something vital, beautiful, preserved. So the passing of time doesn't age, decay, and destroy it. It's like an archetypal death being symbolized, a perfection through sacrifice. So Liz and all three of you, comments on these archetypes?
And the word chief also means head, so the leader. So to me, it just reinforces the new changes that are about to take place and the new beginnings that, reinstates all that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Nice. Justin?
Well, I just want to say the 29 degrees Sagittarius, which is really kind of what's coming before this into this, is really kind of speaks to our sense of values as we move into this, and our sense of power of where we're going to put that energy, that effort, that power and values as we move into a new cycle. And I like how the Capricorn first degree here, 0 to first degree here, is speaking about claiming that power. And so I think it's really great that it really speaks about empowerment and where we need to set our direction and effort in the new cycle.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for adding that part. We usually, just as a commentary to those that follow archetypal symbols, we have prior Sabian symbols, but because of the multitude of this particular panel, I thank you for that. Israel, did you have a thought?
I'm just very interested in the 0 degrees of Aries, of course, where Jupiter is going to be, and the way it says that a woman risen out of the ocean, a seal embracing her. The old gets left behind, and the new understanding of awareness comes to light, which I feel is quite appropriate for Aries. Being it's the first zodiac sign, it's a fire sign, so there is something there of.
There's a clicking. Who's making the clicking? If
that comes from me, I don't think so.
No, it's not. Go ahead, Israel. I didn't mean to stop you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So I feel that's really quite potent to that position for Jupiter, because Aries is that place where the new awareness is coming to the is emerging, it's springing up. I'm likening the idea of a woman rising out of the oceans, because if we look at the previous sign that before Aries, it's Pisces. So like something coming out of the oceans. It's often said that Aries is the zodiac sign that is born out of the waters of Pisces.
Yes.
Emerging out of the, so this woman rising out of the oceans, I feel, is quite interesting, and perhaps that could be a symbol for maybe we're going to be witnessing a female, maybe perhaps, or something of a feminine energy coming to the forefront over the next month or so during the winter period. It's quite interesting.
Well, it always, of course, that could represent moon energy. I know Justin wanted, because the moon is so potent in this chart. It's in the grand square. It's opposite Mars. And for this one, just as the collective here, I'm sharing that I did include 7, 8, 9, and 10. So Justin, maybe you want to incorporate. encapsulate this for us a little bit?
Well,
So we
I
can
always
move on.
it's interesting when I look at that 8 degrees, and when I see this in clients' charts, it's really about sort of this the alchemist energy as we move into the new cycle. Within the depths of the earth, new elements are being formed. So there's an alchemy, a combining of energies as we move into this, and so that's why I see this moon, this balsamic moon, is before we get ready, we're strategizing. We are, we're getting all of our thoughts together. It's almost this alchemistic type of energy before we move over that threshold.
What's fascinating is, again, always the replication of energies being through different definitions. In other words, we're realizing that we need to come up with a balsamic moon that's reflecting before it goes ahead. Here we have psychic gestation. There's the values that were brought up in order to consider. So generally, I will just read the Sagittarius 8s. Well, you had said that within the depths of the earth, new elements are formed, psychic gestation. And 9, a mother leads her child step by step up a steep stairway, the keynote, social concern. These are with Dane Rudhyar, the great mandala of his. Okay, unless somebody had something more, shall we go back to our chart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Here it is with all the red and blue. So we have the cardinal T-square with the 0 degrees, which cardinal means it's going to be an Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And then mutable, which in this case, which are all 4, which is Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces, including the ascendant. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, the mid is at 29 degrees, so the 2 is partnership, and the 9 is about finishing up and endings, and then it breaks down to 11, so it's leadership, and it's a master number, awakening, intuition. So it's like, to me, it's like we were finishing up things, but there's this new beginning coming, and it's with all the 0, it's already telling us that there's a new beginning. So it just reinforces that, in my opinion.
Where was that you just began with? I missed that. I'm sorry, Liz.
The midheaven's at 29 degrees.
Oh, the midheaven. Okay, that's a good focus. I see. So that goes to 11, goes to a master number, and goes to 2. Is that what you're saying? Can you repeat that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, 2 is partnership and duality, and then 11 is a master number and having a step up, lead, teach, perhaps, intuitive. So it just, and then the 9 is the ending. So to me, it's just kind of reinforcing that energy of the 0 of starting new things. It's like adding extra to that.
Right. And if I may, what comes to mind is us and the higher energies of source that we need to partner with.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something that jumps out to me about this chart, and is that in it that there's that Hygeia that actually rises right after the sun at 0 degrees there, and it kind of speaks to that the saving symbol after that first one that talks about power and authority. Then it's about right use of power and authority. The church, windows being blown out or whatever. There's something here about with Hygeia there, the hygiene of authority and structure as we move on, kind of speaking to what Liz was saying earlier about the right use of, when we looked at that devil card, the right use of that power as we move forward. And I think we're helped in the chart by this, what I always look at first is that ascendant in Virgo. And so there's some element of discernment here and seriousness and logic and reasoning as we move forward in this. And one other side note here, that 10 degrees Vesta on the descendant is actually on the midheaven on the USA chart at this particular period of time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, and I'd like to continue with the 7 on the ascendant, because 7 is a reflection, and it's seeking truth and knowledge. So it's like being our best and highest self and doing it in an honest way.
Yeah.
I could go to, we have the United States chart too, but Israel, if you had, because this is the world, this is like,
Yeah, this is, yeah. No, I think there's so many things that I'm seeing here. I'm just adding on to what Liz was saying earlier on about the midheaven. I know this is the chart, it's a collective chart, but we know the midheaven is like the highest point. So it's also to do with our vocation and our roles in the world, and our it can be to do with our public status and stuff like that. But I feel there may be something about it being at 29 degrees, which is also known as an anaretic degree, where there's a lot of like, come on, you got to finish up, you got to do this, you got to get this done. It's coming to the end. So something there may be showing us that, hey guys, look, you got to complete this. You got to look for in our own individual lives what it is, what is your vocation, what is our vocation, and how best can we, complete that and fulfill that to the best of our ability over in the coming year. And then also the Jupiter squaring the Sun, I think also as well, it may be letting us know, we know Jupiter's about expansion, is about making things big, is about growth, is about that opportunity. So I feel Jupiter is also showing us here that this particular solstice is a time of opportunity for us.
Beautiful.
But it is a square, so it may be challenging, but nevertheless, the opportunity is definitely going to go. It's there, but we've got to work for it.
We can refine it with that beautiful ascendant. Yeah, I love it. Here, I'm going to go
and if I may say, I thank you, Israel, for pointing out that square, because I think it really highlights the Hygeia. Because when we see Jupiter and Aries squaring a Sun in Capricorn, both at 0 degrees, there's that authority and fight and effort, and so it's really, I think the Hygeia informs us what to pay attention to with that square.
Okay, here we go.
This is like the start of the new year chart, because planets are already ingressing into new signs, and 2023 will follow with Mars going into Cancer, Saturn going into Aquarius, and Saturn going into Pisces, and Pluto going into Aquarius.
Aquarius, right.
Well, here it is for the United States at Eastern Time, which is at Washington, the District of Columbia, to represent the nation. And the reason I brought this up for today is because, interestingly, the ascendant is also a cardinal point. So it swaps out, has the same as the world, but here the cardinal is the grand square, and the moon is not the on the ascendant like for the world, but so they have both. They have they swap out the T square, which would be mutable, and then the grand square with the 0 degrees. So it's fascinating.
And that cardinal energy is all about initiating and starting things. So it's like awesome that we have this amazing energy to support us all to make changes.
And yet I did realize, and I added lots of these different, for those that are looking at the YouTube, different colors, fill them in. So if you follow the colors here, I think it helps, because Haumea at 0 degrees Scorpio, which will last because it's a 50-year cycle, it's going to be at 0 degrees for some period of time, is in an inconjunct 150 quincunx, as they call it, with Jupiter, the Aries point, and of course they both they share Mars as traditional rulership. So this rebirth process that we're initiating with the Jupiter for this year, it's not even a full year, it's going to race right through Aries, is going to have a bit of a struggle to make that rebirth, to make it on a broader terms, like what really are our causes and the values for those causes with
And I like to point out the whole concept of this 0 degrees Cancer on the ascendant, and the Sabian symbol, of course, is that one on a ship, one flag lowers and then another one takes off and or is raised. So it's about reorientation. There's going to be some type of reorientation for us at this point in the cycle.
Yeah. And the fact that it involves the moon, and of course the moon there is in this powerful opposition and T-square with our hearth, our very hearth. Let's lead on. It's so potent. Here we have, okay. Oh, what did I do? Did I lose us? Oh no, it can't be that late. Oh,
yes.
yeah, well, all right. We did a lot. The new moon will be on the 23rd, folks. And in fact, maybe I can just put those in real quick so that those people, sometimes navigating this thing is like, oh my gosh, oh, that's not what we want. Here we have, okay, there's the new moon, 1 degree Capricorn, and it'll be at, okay, and also we have the 2 degree Capricorn sun moon, Hygeia, which is about love, and we also have the Eastern American one. Right. So there we are, folks. Thank you, Justin, Crockett, Elsie, Elizabeth, Mouchette, and Israel Ajose. The new year begins. We will return. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you next time.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests connect soul growth patterns with the energetic cycles of astrology. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.